Good morning, everybody. I am not Tom Huff. We had a last minute change. My name is James Benson. I'm a senior account executive here at Outsystems. I run the New England segment of the business here and excited to be here with you all today. So quick snapshot as to who we are as a company. We were founded in 2001, been on the scene for a little over 20 years now. In that span of time, we've acquired about 2,000 customers across 87 different countries, really running the gamut of different industries and verticals as well. We have almost 400 partners now, ranging from the big four consulting firms to private boutique system integrators to ISV partners to infrastructure partners such as AWS, Azure, et cetera, et cetera. And we have about 500,000 community members as well, talking about those certified developers that Ron was mentioning earlier. So just who we are as a high level, and what our footprint looks like. So really the mission that Outsystems we're set out to accomplish is giving every organization the ability to innovate extremely fast, extremely cost effective, and very nimbly so. So it's very easy to make changes as requirements and business demands change. So at a very high level, what we offer is a visual approach to full stack application development through a drag and drop framework in the GUI you see in the GIF here. So replacing the need to manually write lines and lines of code in whatever language you can think of, C#, Java, Python, and replacing it with a more intuitive, agile type framework. So there's really three main challenges that organizations are facing that ultimately lead them to Outsystems. First one being their backlogs are growing exponentially at a rate that is growing quicker than they can address demands coming from the business. So the reality of the situation today is most organizations don't have the supply of in-house resources that are equipped to meet the demands of the business at the rate at which they're growing. So complexity falls on developers' shoulders. They have to be very selective as to which projects they say yes to. So there are clear winners and clear losers as to who gets the attention from IT. And yeah, with the shortage of competent developers, it's very hard for companies to hire resources to help meet these demands because not everybody has the attractiveness that Apple, Google, Capital One, Amazon has to, hire top technical talent. The next challenge is it's very hard to meet non-functional requirements, all the things that happen outside of development. So, ensuring things are built properly and not incurring technical debt as a symptom of just trying to get something into production. If IT teams are trying to spit something out quickly to the business, perhaps they cut corners on security and governance best practices, and they really suffer in the long run because these apps aren't scalable and are usually a short-term solution to a long-term problem. Lastly, with companies trying to keep up with demands and changes in the marketplace today, there are things that need constant iteration, and it's very difficult to do that as new technologies, new challenges are emerging in the marketplace. So really the core fundamental that we set out to help companies do are to build enterprise applications fast, build them properly, and build them for the future so they can scale and iterate over the long term. And really what we see is when companies are starting on their adoption journey on Outsystems, there are really four main buckets of application use cases that they're looking to partner with us so that they can help solve for. First being are the customer experiences they improve. So these are their B2C type applications. If you think about like a bank, for example, like your mobile customer application where you're managing all your account information, making deposits, transfers, what have you. So that's an example of a customer experience use case. The second one being workplace innovation. So these are your internal employee applications that are made available to an organization's workforce. The next one is process automation. So the way in which companies are conducting business processes today. There are a lot of cases where things are done through Excel sheets or sometimes even physical paper that obviously are very cumbersome. They're very prone to human error since they're so manual. So that's an opportunity where companies are looking to modernize and improve as well. And the last one is application modernization. So a think everybody in this room has been around the IT space for a while. It's no secret there are a lot of old legacy applications out there today that really can slow a business down. So typically what we see is when customers are starting out on their adoption journey for enterprise digital transformation, the first couple of use cases they'll start with are on the departmental level. So an example of this could possibly be cost and expense improvement, making things run a little bit more efficiently so that they can save costs on a departmental level. Once they get that down, it's a little bit more enterprise-wide. Maybe where we've identified a few solutions that span across several departments. So as they're embracing, they're taking on things that have a little bit more complexity, a little bit more mission criticality. The next, once they start to kind of hit the second half of their journey, these are when they're starting to make strategic decisions for the business, positioning it in the marketplace against its competitors. And then lastly, right, it's really that COE, Center of Excellence approach, where they're just pumping out applications of all levels of complexity across the business for all of their end users, from customers to employees to partners. So at a high level, here's kind of a map of the Outsystems platform. There are really 4 core pillars to the platform of everything you get out of the box with it. First one is the core development of every layer of the SDLC. So everywhere from UI to logic, process, and data, all of these components of development are handled through a very simple drag and drop approach. So typically what we see is a 6 to 10x increase in development speed from traditional coding. And the real value prop here is that, while it's easy to build on the front end, everything you do is reusable. So once you create something once, you have a component in your private Outsystems library, and then it can be reused as many times as you want, which is what exponentially increases the speed in which you're doing development on subsequent applications and projects. The next tenet is our ability to integrate through enterprise systems through either REST or SOAP web services or direct API calls through pre-built connectors to enterprise systems. So we have an open source library called the Outsystems Forge. There are about 4,000 components in there today. What a lot of these are pre-built connectors to tools such as Salesforce, SAP, O365. Chances are, if there's a SaaS app you can think of, there's probably a Forge component for it. So this is very helpful as well. So you don't have to really create that API from the ground up. It's readily available, thereby reducing the complexity and increasing the speed in which these connections can happen. The next tenet is our full stack, full lifecycle capabilities. So all the DevOps tasks that are handled outside of development, from the QA debugging process when an app's going into production, to ongoing monitoring, ensuring technical debt is kept at lowest levels possible, collecting in-app user feedback, and allowing teams to implement strong governance models to ensure that apps can't be tampered with by somebody that does not have sufficient permissions. So the last bit is just the experiences that we allow you to deliver through your application. So you could build apps for any device, web, mobile, tablet, iOS, Android, you name it. What's becoming a lot more popular now is customers are adding things like chatbots, voice to tag voice command, and SMS notifications as well to interact with their applications in a much more automated fashion. And lastly, we really try to make sure all of the proper security parameters are put in place. So out of the box, there are 196 security measures that Outsystems meets, including HIPAA, SOC 2 Type 2, ISO, and many more certifications in addition. So a quick customer case study that I'll point to, and I apologize that the font is kind of on top of itself, but just a quick example. Lender, they are a financial services institution based here in the US, and they had the classic case of, the backlog was increasing at a rate in which IT could not meet in a reasonable time frame. So what ended up happening was, people on the business side weren't happy. They were, hounding IT for, them to pump out the apps they were asking for. IT couldn't do it. Long story short, they ended up partnering with Outsystems. And what we ended up finding in the development of 5 new enterprise applications over the course of 12 months, it was about a 70% reduction in app delivery time. They're able to do this with just a few developers, and now they're realized some pretty serious cost savings. IT can run a lot more nimbly with the limited resources they have, and now their company is able to scale a lot more quicker and more simplistically. The next customer I'll point out is one of our more flagship clients, Medtronic. Similar situation, right? Have a lot of users across the world, a lot of devices, a lot of systems. So it's very difficult in a traditional methodology for everybody to be on the same page. Outsystems significantly simplifies that. And, as a result, they've realized some pretty significant cost savings, efficiency gains, and the amount of scale we've been able to handle across almost 340 sessions has been pretty substantial from what they were using before to what they've now built on Outsystems. So that's it. That's all I have. If this sounds interesting, I definitely recommend going to our website, downloading the free trial environment. It's called the personal environment. It's free forever. And you can start building apps as soon as today on Outsystems.